Oh, our Hangout on the Air is live. So, hi everyone. Welcome along to this edition of Majacraft Live. Today we are talking about the amazing Aura. Of course, I have got my one wheel with me right here, and Glynis is all set to go with her lovely Aura. And we're going to do some spinning today as well. So, and here's Glynis Pode, Mrs. Majacraft,
Hello.
is going to tell us about the development of the Aura and some of the history behind it. And hopefully between us we can show you a bit of the range of what you can do on the Aura. So I've got some bulky spinning and Glynis is spinning some fine. And I've got my cup of coffee. So I think we're off. Let's go. Let's Aura it up. So this is a wheel with quite a history, Glynis. It's a fairly new wheel, but it's made a strong impact, I think, on spinning for spinners. And you had some help developing it.
Yes, we did, Suzy. Oh gosh, it was years and years ago. We noticed Lexi Boga doing some fancy art yarns, and had some contact with her, and she ended up inviting us to make a spinning wheel which would handle the type of yarns that she was doing. She had a few criteria. The main ones were things like it needs to be able to pull like a tractor. And so Owen some years ago had come up with a concept of a similar sort of system but had not developed it. And when it came to building the Aura for Suzy, he suggested to Andy and Rob that we use that system. So anyway, I think that Andy did a lot of development work, and at the time he was calling it Serenity, and I guess you computer nerds
I know
will
why that would be.
it's something or another. It was some outer space thing or something.
It's just so
I don't remember, but he was getting everything done under the secret code name of Serenity. And anyway, we made some prototypes and sent them off to Lexi, and she fed back what she wanted changed and things like that. And eventually she came over to New Zealand and did some workshops over here for us, and we were able to put the final touches on it. So we said to her, well, Lexi, you're the one who's had a lot of input into this, and we haven't got a name for it other than Serenity, and perhaps you'd like to name it. And so she had a signature yarn called an Aura yarn, which was an extremely difficult yarn to make, and so she thought she'd like the wheel to be called the Aura. And so that's what, that was really pretty much how it came about.
I think it really suits it too, actually, the name Aura, because it has an aura about it. So
yes,
in more ways than one, it's a good name. Although I probably would have liked Serenity as well, being a little geeky that way. I know exactly what Andy was talking about. But yeah, so it was a wheel that was originally designed and developed for spinning art yarns. And some of the requirements of art yarns, I'm just going to switch over to my wheel cam here because I'm spinning one at the moment. One of the main requirements of art yarns for me is, well, first of all, that you can get a really good take up. So I can actually set this up, not so that it necessarily cranks it out of my hand super easy, but so I can set it exactly to the speed I want it to go at and know that it will stay at that speed and it will keep pulling in this case, the core thread onto my wheel at the same speed no matter what I'm doing. If I was on Scotch tension doing this, every time I pause, it would actually be stopping the yarn from going onto the wheel, which actually isn't what I want. So that really good adjustable tension that stays consistent is really important. And also you can see I'm doing a lot of stop starting. You often have to do that with art yarn, especially if you're putting in add-ins or tying in locks. So being able to stop and start with your treadling system, actually this is the same on all the wheels that you guys make, really super easy stop start spinning. That's another important thing for art yarns. And then of course there's this really cool orifice, which is totally bypassable, and it's got a delta in here as well as the pigtail around here, so I'm actually just using it through the big loop, so I can fit anything through that, which
I
is
was going
another.
to mention about.
This is quite
Sorry,
unique,
Suzy.
isn't it? This orifice to the wheel. I don't think anyone else does one like this.
Rob was the one who came up with this design, and it's certainly been a big success. We spent some time trying to decide just how to do it, how to make the orifice, what sort it should be, and anyway, he came up with this, and as you say, it's totally bypassable, which means that if you do have big add-ins and things, you can bypass each part, and that's where the tractor bit comes in, of course. But when Lexi said to us she wanted it to be able to do big art yarns, we said to her, well, we're not going to make a wheel that can only do one thing. It's going to have to be more of a multi-purpose wheel than that. So that's why it's still quite happy doing just a standard sort of a yarn, and if you use the lace kit, you'll find that doing lace spinning is also perfectly possible.
Yep, and this is why I call it my one wheel, because I can literally spin anything I like on it. I'm not a big lace spinner, although I have been spinning a lot more lace recently for reasons, and enjoying it too. And so I've got the fast wool for this, so I can put that on, and the small bobbins and the flyer, the smaller flyer, and I can only just keep up with it, really. I'm not a super fast lace spinner, but it goes beautifully. It's just so smooth to use. So, but also I meant to say the reason I'm using this hook here rather than through the delta is because I've got lots of sort of little loopy bits on here. So if I'm spinning smooth, I put it through the delta and it keeps it still. See how it's not wobbling? And that's really great for smooth spinning. But if I want to make sure it's not going to hook up on that, or if it's just really bulky, then I just put it through. Oh, I'm messing it up now. I just put it through the loop and let it go. Silk, sticky.
It is. Yeah.
So
that's too.
Oh, I put on so much hand cream before I started today. I thought, it's silk. I'm going to need that. There is not enough hand cream in the world, I think, when you're playing with silk. And this is actually this really cool silk lap that I got from Tracy White. I think I got this from her about a year or so ago. And my plan was I was going to dye it. And then I saw it in my stash this morning. I was thinking, what am I going to spin today? And just this beautiful whiteness of it really appealed to me, and I did this weaving. Here's my cushion. I did this weaving in golds, and I was quite keen to do another one in whites, different shades of white. So I'm going to spin some really bulky, really textured whites, and then I'll probably use the same stuff and do some smooth as well, some fine, and I can do it all on the Aura, which I will. So I'm going to do my project in white. I'm going to have a whole range of yarns for it. So once again, the one wheel is going to work out.
Your cushions come out really nicely, Suzy.
Oh, I was so happy with that. Yeah.
Yes.
I hadn't woven anything for a while because I've been moving house and so on, and now I've got the loom out and permanently in my living room. So it's going to be well used now. So yeah, but I really like the idea of mix and matching, all the different textures of yarns and thicknesses and so on for the weaving. So, and I like to weave my hand spun. So what have you got on your wheel, Glynis?
I've just got Romney.
Romney, just got
yes.
Romney.
Can I move?
Fiber.
Can I move?
Yep.
Without falling over?
I'll click over to the other camera.
It's very tight in here. It's very tight in here.
There we go.
So.
There we are.
Yeah, and I'm just doing standard plain stuff.
Undyed Romney.
Can't see it all. And you'll notice that I haven't got too much tension on. I've got no tension here. I've got this on the smallest whirl groove of the bobbin, and I've got this onto the largest of the flyer drive, and that's so that I can not have too much pull. I've also got my my head about an inch up in the slot, I suppose.
That's something people don't always realise with the spinning on the Aura, is that you can adjust almost anything on it, including the head height, which adjusts the tension on the drive bands.
It's got infinite adjustment. That's the marvellous thing about it. And Suzy, you might be able to explain more about it, because you do use the Aura a lot more even than I do. So,
well, I think initially when you guys first brought this out, because it's double drive, and double drive has been around for quite a long time, but you guys have modified it with this knob on the side that you've got going around with the black band. I can't point because it's on your screen. Going around with the, yeah, that's it. That's driving the bobbin, right? And
yes.
So you can adjust that. And I actually tend to use this a lot like I would use a Scotch tension adjustment in actual fact.
Yep.
So you set your tension and your pulleys and your walls and your amount of twist and so on. But you can also do a fine-tune adjustment using that little knob, which will increase or decrease the take-up onto the bobbin, which is a fantastic extra adjustment. And that's actually, to be honest, that's pretty much the only one I use. I often have my wheel set up with, I'll show you how I've got it for this one now. I'll just move it so it's in reach. So I generally have my green band, which is driving the flyer, and this tends to adjust the twist for me. I usually have that set in the middle. Everything's very average. I usually have quite a lot of tension on my black band, probably more than a lot of people do. I've noticed at workshops and so on when I'm teaching that pretty much everyone gets told by me, turn up the tension on, increase the tension on your wheel, because I use a lot because of the style of spinning. So I have quite a lot of tension on the black band. And then any variation on that, I use the adjuster at the side to increase or decrease the take-up, because that helps you control the amount of twist that's going into your yarn basically as well, because the speed that you get onto the bobbin, if you hold onto it for longer, then you get more twist. If you get it on there faster, you get less twist. And with most of my bulky yarns, they need less twist. So that's pretty much what I use. Hang on,
I think the hybrid double drive, which is what we call it, is so superior, because you've got specific adjustment on your bobbin, specific adjustment on your flyer, whereas with an ordinary double drive, you just have a single drive band which is crossed, whereas this has two separate belts. Yep. One is a stretchy one for a certain amount of adjustment with the height and that, and the other one is the fabric belt. And I think that slips more, doesn't it, when it's fabric?
Yeah, I'm just noticing our image is going very pixely, so I might just...
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm going to move back anyway.
I might just give that a minute to catch up to us. I think it's better now.
Okay.
And I'm going to have to make a little bit of a mercy dash to get my charger for my phone, because it's starting to... It's my phone is my wheel cam.
Don't tell me you can leave me to do all the talking.
I am, because it's... I just got the low battery signal. I'll be real fast. I'll leave the camera on you.
You better be. You better be. Yeah, well, I've had an interesting morning. We had our local spinners group come out to have a look around the factory. And so they arrived about morning tea time, and we had to have scones and, well, not scones, muffins and sausage rolls and things. And then we showed them around the factory. So it's been quite a busy morning. They just left not too long before we started on the live stream. So it up for us, and we were rushing around there for a bit. But anyway, we'll go now, and hopefully you're learning something about the Aura, which is really a nice wheel to use. I think some people perhaps are a little bit nervous of the opportunities there are with it, but it's actually really easy just to set up and use. You don't have to do much at all to it generally.
I'm back.
Your turn. Thank goodness.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Thank goodness.
It's all saved now. I've got it all plugged back in again. So
Good.
yeah. What did I miss? Have we had any questions? Has anyone come up with any questions?
Any questions, Andrew? Andy?
No.
Any questions?
No.
No
questions. We need more questions. I've still got.
Well, if they don't much help, we'll just we'll go.
Well, let me think. I'm trying to think what some of the FAQs are for these wheels. We've talked about what's the word? Putting your wheels together. When you get your wheel and it's flat packed and you look at all these parts and you think, oh no, how am I going to put this all together? Andy and I actually made a video a little while ago on how to put the wheel together. It's on the Majacraft YouTube channel, and I'll put a link to it just to remind people in the Facebook page as well. But it's just a nice little assembly guide. It only takes, well, it really doesn't take long at all to assemble the wheels. It might look a bit intimidating until you start taking everything out of the box. And then it all goes together very logically. And there's only a couple of points that you really need to be very careful of as you're putting it together. And one of them is the little grub screws on the flyers on the walls. Those need to be lined up well. And we've focused on that in the video as well, so you can see exactly how to line that up. But I also thought the video would be quite useful for anybody who might be thinking about what wheel to buy. The assembly video also shows you a lot about how the wheel really goes together and how it works, and I think that's also really interesting information. So if anyone has purchased an Aura or is anticipating the arrival of their new Aura, don't forget to go and check out the assembly instruction video on the YouTube channel, and it would be good, I think, at some point to do one for some of the other wheels as well, like the Suzy and the Rose, although the assembly is quite similar.
You might be interested, Suzy. Our wheels were always screwed together, and then once we made the Aura, Lexi was travelling around the States and putting her wheel together and dismantling it time after time after time. And we thought, well, if she's having to do that, we must come up with a simpler method for her. And this is when we the JCB bolts, which are so much easier to use.
Yep.
As compared to the screws, which needed the screwdriver and, you know,
tools.
More of them. And yes. So,
no, it's surprisingly
always evolving.
Yeah. And of course
we're always trying to come up with new things.
Yeah, and it's still got the folding handle and so on as well for standard travel. Mine always gets, you know, seat belted into my car when I go somewhere. So
I actually think it's a very easy handle to carry with too.
Yeah, it is.
I quite like it.
Yep. I guess, well, speaking of travelling and so on, we've talked about the Gem before as being the travel wheel, which is a fantastic little wheel. And the difference in weight, what's the weight of the Aura? I know this is one of the things with spinning wheels. Oh, we've got a question?
We have got a question, yeah.
We have got a question. Oh,
what's the question, Andrew?
Oh, hello, Carla. I can see the questions now.
Would it be to figure out as a new spinner? I've only spun on one wheel, the replay, and it's simple.
Okay. Well, I think in the past there's been some intimidation levels with the Aura because of the adjustability of the 2 drive bands and so on. But I think it's no different than any other wheel in terms of learning to spin on it. Every new wheel that you sit down to spin on will have some kind of learning curve. If you're a new spinner, whatever wheel you learn to spin on is the easiest for you in the end, because it's the one you've learned to spin on. So I don't think this is a difficult wheel to spin. I think there are a lot of people that take their Aura out of the box and they're spinning up and spinning really, really quickly with it. You don't need to have a lot of technical knowledge about twist and tension and that kind of thing. It's often just a case of experimenting and going by feel, and that's very easy to do with the Aura. I guess the main thing is not to be intimidated by it and play around with the adjustments. You know, you can't really break it by changing the tension. So is that your experience, Glynis?
Yes, I agree, Susie. It's actually so much simpler than people realise. And I think that Owen came up with a formula for setting the head. And for the life of me, I can't remember what it is, but it is on our website.
I think it's
somewhere.
in the manual too, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be in the manual.
Yeah.
It's a I don't know, it's a 1/2 inch or something.
Yeah.
It's some sort of formula that he gave for setting it. Once you set it like that, you really don't need to do much at all. And I think, as you say, Susie, using the little tension knob out the side is the quickest and easiest. And sometimes, you know, if I'm just spinning and I suddenly want a big draw, and I'll just actually flap that up and not change anything. You just sort of tweak it up for a minute and it pulls in quick. And
with this wheel too is that you can set it up very quickly and easily. I think perhaps if people have had difficulty spinning with the Auras straight out of the box, it may often come down to the way it's been set up, how high the head is and that kind of thing. And I think we've covered that in the assembly video itself, really, where to set the head to get it, you know, optimal to just get spinning. So that's probably where people new to the wheel would have the most problem getting started, is just getting it all set up correctly. Once it's set up, fine. You barely have to change anything on it. It's really
it just goes.
That's kind of the way I think about it. Yeah. Even, you know, with the Scotch tension wheel, as your bobbin fills, you have to increase the tension, you know, fairly regularly through it. You don't have to do that with the Aura either. It just maintains the same tension start to finish. So very little adjustment required. So in that way, I think it's often quite an easy wheel to start on, because you don't have to fiddle around with it too much to get what you want. I saw there's another question there
is
too.
another question. What sort of maintenance do you need to keep it running smoothly?
I don't do any. sorry, Glynis.
What can I come up with?
I don't do any.
Well,
it doesn't need it, does it?
I'll tell you one of the things that I think is important, and that is with the black fabric belt. Keep an eye on it, and if it looks like it's starting to fray at the joint or gets a bit fluffy, put some extra stitches in it and hold it, because, you know, they're hand stitched together, and Tony stitches them for us. She does a marvellous job, and it's really strong. But, you know, sometimes there might be just maybe a little catchy bit in the groove or something like that, or just with wear it's starting to just not fray, but just looking fluffy.
I guess that's also...
Keep an eye on that. It's the same thing with the Scotch tension. You know, if that brake band gets fluffy, then in that case you need to replace it. But with the Aura, if you think it looks like it's starting to come apart, use your needle and thread and stitch it together.
It can also be sometimes I've seen people that have had take-up difficulties, and often it's just because they needed to replace the drive bands. And, you know, you forget that the Aura drive bands, they last so long, you sort of forget that you might need to replace them, but they are a consumable on any spinning wheel. I know on my original wheel, it wasn't a Majacraft wheel, I was replacing drive bands, you know, every 6 months or so I have to put a new drive band on. So these ones last a long time, but they obviously do at some point need replacing. And I'd say waxing the wheel, you know, a little bit of wood wax.
That keeps it nice.
It doesn't change the spinning on it, but it does keep it in good order. But
oiling the hinges is a good thing.
It's all enclosed bearings, isn't it, in the drive and spinning mechanism, so that doesn't need oiling in those areas.
No, there's so little that does need doing. Maybe a bit of Vaseline on the flyer shaft. One thing that I do notice, especially when I'm testing, is you need to keep the flyer shaft nice and clean, and specifically between the pins. That needs to be really well looked after. if that gets messy, then you'll find that the bobbin will bind. And so in that case, it's a case of cleaning it off, maybe,
Yeah.
dare I say steel wool or something like that. Just, you know, look after the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always a bit of a difficulty when people say, what do I do to maintain it? Because we try and make them as maintenance free as possible.
Yeah, and generally speaking, I'd say they are. In case people don't know, when Glynis is talking about the pins there, the Aura has, I'll just point to it, but you can't really see it. In the back here, you can see there's a couple of pins there, and those go into the bobbin. Mine's sitting forward on it. But the bobbin actually slots onto those. So these bobbins are different from the standard Majacraft bobbins because they have the holes drilled in them to fit these pins, and that's what drives the bobbin separately from the flyers. So the flyer's sitting on, you can't really see, on one pulley, and that one's for the bobbin. So it's got these pins there, and that's what you need to make sure that there's not too much, if they're too tight on the pins, it doesn't spin properly either. So, but I haven't had that problem myself in the whole time I've had it. So
one other thing people, they do get a little bit nervous about, am I going to a wheel and it'll be unusable? But there's not too much that can't be fixed.
Yep.
It's really, just about anything can be fixed.
Spare parts, that kind of thing. I suppose it's same as all the other wheels. Anything that's required, you can supply as individual spare parts. But So then there's,
you don't need them very often.
Then there's all the accessories as well, and I've actually got mine set up on this everything standard. But this
what about the Overdrive?
The Overdrive has.
For the person who's asking how many bobbins the Aura comes with, it's three jumbo bobbins. But it's like all of our wheels, it's customizable. And so if you decide for some reason that you don't want jumbo bobbins, you just want standard bobbins, then you have to say that at ordering time. We do have people who just buy it with the Overdrive and just that setup. So it's just what suits you is what we try and do.
Yeah. And what I've got on here at the moment is the jumbo bobbin, and this is the one that comes standard with the Aura. Actually, Luca's around. Luca, could you just go and get me one of those great big bobbins out of the box in there and bring it over? I can show people the Overdrive bobbins. I don't have it on my wheel at the moment, only because I've been moving house and I didn't want to leave the Overdrive on the wheel during shifting and so on, because it's a lot bigger and I wanted to keep it safe.
Holds a lot of fibre.
Yeah. Here's the Overdrive bobbin. This is the size comparison. Let me hold it so you can see it. It's just huge. Put it there. You can see the size difference.
I think it's five of the jumbos to one. One Overdrive.
And this,
about a kilo of wool.
This is one of the accessories that I was really excited to be able to work with you guys on this one, because at the time we were doing this, I was making a lot of really big bulky yarns, 2-ply yarns, and I was selling them. I was selling my yarns, and I needed to make more of them. And on the jumbo bobbin, I could fit about 30 meters of this ultra bulky yarn, and I needed more. And so I thought, what we need is one of those great big bobbins. And I tried, there are other wheels that come with big bobbins. They only have the big bobbins, and you can't really spin anything else much on them. And so I asked you guys if you'd make this great big bobbin, and you're like, oh, that's not going to fit very well on the wheel. I'm like, but it has to go with the Aura, because the Aura has the double drive that is really great for dragging a lot of wool onto something because this gets heavy. I fit a kilo of wool on this, which is, I don't know how much it is in ounces, but it's a lot, a whole kilo of wool. And, you know, as it starts to turn, you get all that inertia with just the weight of the bobbin with all the wool on it. And I knew how well the double drive worked for keeping the tension the same start to finish of a bobbin. I thought, well, I'm sure that's going to work really well with this. So I nagged Andy and made some more, and he tried out a few different ideas and made some little big prototypes. And in the end, it just came down to the simple solution of making one of these and expanding the size of the existing Aura head and making it bigger. He may have done a few other tweaks to it, but basically it runs with the same system. But then he also was really clever, and he made it so it fits on all the other wheels as well as an accessory. And you know, I never imagined doing that, but Andy's good like that, coming out with clever ideas. So it also fits the Rose and the Suzy, and what it does is it basically turns them into an Aura, because if you get the accessory head with the bobbins and so on, you also get the double drive with it, so it still runs on double drive, so you can turn your other wheels into the Aura as well, which I thought was quite exciting for people to be able to do that, to spin large yarns or production quantities of yarns actually. And I have filled up the Overdrive bobbins. I know Owen kind of was like, would you want to spin that much, yeah? Well, yeah, actually I've filled it up. I think I can fit about half a dozen big bats onto my Overdrive bobbins, and it's great. I never have to worry about having enough space on the bobbin to ply my bats, because I was always ending up with, you know, meters that wouldn't fit. And it's fantastic. I can spin anything on it. I have used it just as an experiment to spin fine. It was okay. I wouldn't do that as like my big goal. Well, but it works. It does actually work very well. Once you need to pad the core a little bit, really, to make it easier. Once it fills up a little bit, it's actually just the experience of spinning on the Overdrive is exactly the same as the experience of spinning on the standard Aura. In actual fact, it stops and starts really easily. It keeps the tension all the way through. So it's pretty awesome.
One of the things that is probably important to realise is that the Overdrive head has got a very fat shaft and a long, this is a flyer shaft, fat and long flyer shaft, and no other bobbins will fit it, only the Aura, only the Overdrive bobbins.
Yeah.
And likewise, you can't put the Overdrive bobbin on the standard heads.
Yeah.
It's one of the few things that are specific.
Yeah. Well, it had to have a shaft that was as long as the bobbin, basically.
Yeah, and heavy to carry it. Yeah.
Heavy duty stuff. But it means business. This really does. Totally means business.
It does.
Yeah. The other thing we talked about last time was the stylus kit too, and the stylus kit on the Overdrive is fantastic for a completely different kind of spinning again. So that's another one of the accessories that I really like. And I have got my stylus kit. I just don't know which box it's in yet. But
well, I got mine out, but unfortunately mine is an extremely early stylus bobbin.
Oh, is it?
And it doesn't, and it's not made for Nora.
Oh, it doesn't fit. Well, I think we talked about doing a whole session sometime on the stylus kit, because I think that is a very awesome accessory to have and to use. So I will dig out the box, the right box from my stack of still unpacked boxes, still packed them in, and I'll find it for the next time we do a live stream. I'm not sure we have one scheduled exactly at the moment, but I think we should make a date.
Did we do the gem?
No, we haven't done the gem. We were going to do a makeup session on that because we missed it.
Yes, we're going to do that, and I think that Owen might have been going to do a special appearance.
Yes, it'll be good to have Owen come and chat with us actually. And he was, the gem is his baby, really, isn't it? So it would be great if he would come and talk to us about that.
Yes. I've got a mathematical question for you, Suzy.
Oh, don't ask
How
me.
many grams of How many grams of Susie's core spun would fit on a jumbo bobbin? This
my
sounds
core
like
spun.
standard 2 work. Mm.
Well, at least 4 ounces. I think I've had. It depends how it's spun. If it's spun
Yeah, well,
big
even
and
core spun can
fluffy,
be.
yeah, and it depends on the fibre. The silk that I'm spinning right now, it's not super bulky. I reckon I could easily get about 8 ounces on there with that if I pack it in.
Mm.
So the jumbo bobbin is pretty big. With the Overdrive one, that's had, well, I know I've had at least 6 4 ounce bats on that easily. But yeah, the jumbo, I think it holds about 8 ounces of a standard spun. I tend to go more in terms of length, and normally I would get one of my standard core spun yarns, I would probably get about 70 meters on that. I don't know what that is in yards, but more than 70. So
I was just certainly thinking just at the time we need a ready reckoner. I think 8 ounces is about 220 grams, something like that.
Is it? Yeah.
A kilo, 2.2 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are who are still using imperial measures, whereas we just about lost those now.
I know, it's fairly meaningless to me these days, although some things are still
40 inches to a metre.
Yeah. Is it? Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah, 40 inches. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's about what I get. Basically, if you're buying art bats, they're usually around the 4 ounces. And depending on how I spin it, I can fit the whole thing and ply it onto the jumbo bobbin. Sometimes I'm pushing it to get it all to fit, which was why the Overdrive was so useful, because then I can also add in locks and bits and pieces as well, and not have to worry about having to squeeze the last few meters on there, because it just goes on.
Well, I must do it tighter than you, because I've easily fit a bat of course spun on it.
Yeah, see, it really
jumbo bobbin.
Comes down to how you spin. It really does. And
absolutely.
you and I could spin even the same bat and end up with a different result.
We could.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I guess it's one of those things. After a while, you get to know your wheel so well. You can basically eye a piece of bat, and you know how much you're going to fit on the wheel. Yeah. And
but I guess we're trying to just give a general idea. It's going to be a reasonable amount of fibre on there.
Yeah, it definitely is. Compared to most standard bobbins, this is quite a bit bigger and lots more space. Yeah, sorry, my puppy is just coming.
You've got a very cute dog.
If you hear random growling in the background, she's just playing with her chewy toys. She's very cute. She's only 10, 11 weeks old. I'd bring her over to say hello, but she'd probably want to eat this at a guess. It's exciting stuff, also for puppies. So I think... Now,
Suzy, one time I was going to ask about silk laps. I know it's not really to do with the wheels, but silk laps are not terribly common in New Zealand anyway, and maybe you might be able to tell us a little bit about them.
Well, not so much actually, because
I
got this one from Tracy, who was in New Zealand. I don't know where she got it from. She didn't have a lot of it, and people don't always know what to do with it, because it comes in like this big, huge, thick sheet of silk, and it's not. Normally you buy it in top form, and it's all smooth and even, and you can see exactly how to spin it. This is more like a giant silk hanky. It's got layers and layers and layers of silk in it. It's got little nappy bits. I don't know how well you can see that. See all the little nappy bits? It's got texture in it. So I like to spin it for the texture, but it still gives you the sheen and the sort of lightness. I mean, this is just like a cloud. It's gorgeous. So I'm spinning up around a core at the moment, so I'm getting to keep all that texture in it as well, and I'm not drafting it out too thinly. You can also just draft it out really thin and spin it as a thread as well. I think the trick is to keep your hands far apart, because these are very long fibres, and I think silk is the strongest fibre that there is. It's really strong, and you can really hurt your fingers if you're fighting it, just like any silk. I did also have some silk lap in Europe when I was living over in Holland. However, I think I bought it from someone in Canada, so I have the idea that it's probably more available and more well known in the States, and certainly Canada, where I got it from. I think it's possibly not a byproduct of the silk production, but it's not the highest value silk because it's got all this texture in it. It's all different shaped, different length staple bits, and especially all these little nappy parts. But it's not coarse like tussa silk. It tends to be a bit coarser. This is very, very soft and very smooth. So it's fun to spin, actually, so long as you're not fighting it. It's actually quite fun, and it's like spinning a cobweb, really.
So you're fluffing it out by the look of it. And what's your core?
I'm just opening it up. My core is just some commercial mohair that I got from Skeins, actually, here in Napier. It's a boucle, I think. Alpaca boucle. Let me see. It was cheap. It's very cheap. It is.
That's what you need.
Yeah. It's 38% wool, 57% mohair, and 5% nylon. So this is a really good core because it's strong. It does not snap. So it's not going to break. This is holding the strength of my yarn. It also means that in my core spun yarns, they don't have the same kind of elasticity that you get with a normal spun yarn, but I'm going to use these for weaving, so I don't need to have that in it. But I don't spin a lot of silk lap because I can't get it that easily, basically. But it's already prepared. You don't have to do anything with it. You just literally draft it. Hang on, here she is. Check out what I got here. There's our puppy.
Hello, Bean.
Yeah, okay, Bean. You can go again now. See if she takes my headphones with you. She's all tangled up. Here we go. There you go, Bean. Go and see stars. She does like to help, but her helping is not really appreciated. Yeah. Untangled. Okay, well, if there are any more questions, we better get them in now, and we shall post something very soon on our next broadcast, which I think we'll do on the little gem. As our follow-up.
I did speak to someone who came up with the idea of perhaps having some information about mechanics of the wheels, which was why I thought maybe Owen could perhaps come and relieve us a bit. But if anybody does have any suggestions of things that they would like us to talk about,
well, I'd quite like to know. I'd quite like to know more
session,
about the crank system that you guys have for the double drive, for the double treadle, which is unique to Majacraft as well, I believe. And it certainly makes it a very, very smooth spinning experience with the way it works. But that's all I know about it. Is like I use it. I'm not sort of up with the technicalities of why that's different from any other kind of drive. So
there's not really any too great difference about it. It's basically a plate with a shaft with a spline, which we put I think they're called a rose joint, and then we've got an outer arm, and the outer bearing is called a male bearing. So we have a female and a male bearing, and just go around. And the crucial thing, of course, is the angle you set it at, and that's commercially sensitive. So,
yes, we can't give away the secrets there. Yeah,
no, I can tell you the angle.
It is something that's quite.
But it is different on different wheels.
Yeah. It's got more tangle to sort out. Yeah. So Owen will be along to tell us about some of the more technical things and perhaps the mathematical things that I have no clue about whatsoever. He might also want
Well, I
to
think
talk to
he'll
us
be able to-
about ratios and so on as well, and perhaps compare the wheels
Yep.
on ratios and why that's important for spinning.
Yes, well, the little gem he spent a number of years designing and about a couple of hours to make when he had it so thought out in his head that the end process was quick, but the years and years of working it out.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's
took a
often
while, yeah.
the case with a lot of inventions and so on, is that people will have this growing in their head for years and years and years before it actually comes to life, and you don't realize all that behind it. You just see something that's been made and you think, oh, that's really cool. And you don't realize that they might have been thinking about that already for 10 years and finally it comes to fruition. So there's all that background as well. So. Okay.
I think the spinning ladies this morning were quite surprised at how much work does go into making a spinning wheel. You know, it looks simple, but there's
Our connection is going a little bit dodgy. Yeah, well, I suppose it's something you think about. You think, well, surely it's quite a simple thing. It's got a wheel that goes around and a flyer that goes around, and surely that's all it needs. And in actual fact, when you see all the components and so on, it's not quite that simple. Yeah. Maybe we could do a little workshop tour sometime without giving away any secrets as well. Perhaps we can talk to Andy about setting up a mobile camera and take us for a tour around the workshop, because I know you get, like you said, you've had people in this morning to visit with you and see how the wheels are made. That could be a really fun thing for us to do for one of our live streams as well, if people are interested. We'll see what we can do.
We need to know, don't we?
Yeah. So if anyone
specific.
has ideas of what they'd like to see, please leave a message on the Facebook page or contact Glynis. support@magicraft.co.nz is email address to send in questions you'd like answered, or if you have an idea for a live stream, or if you'd like to have a workshop tour, yay, vote for that, please. It would be really fun. So, and I'm sure we can find some kind of mobile camera to get that working. I'm just looking around here because I've still got Puppy sitting around my feet, and I'm worried she's going to cut us off by unplugging something. That would be really bad and totally unprofessional.
Probably about ready for cut off anyway, aren't we?
Yeah, I think we are. It's coffee time, guys. My coffee cup is empty. I think we've covered what we were going to cover for the wheel. If we missed anything, please let us know, and I will post some more dates for our next live streams and the topics coming up. So, there goes my coffee cup. Bean, stop it. All right. Thanks, Glynis.
Thank you, Susie. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Bean.